Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another sealed event of Innistrad Midnight Hunt before these leave on October 8th. So without further ado, let's open up our packs, see what sweet cards we get, and build a nice sealed deck today, shall we? Ooh, and we could go for a green-red werewolves deck here. We have Arlen the Pack's Hope. Excellent deal on this card. No matter what happens, for 4 mana you're getting 2 green wolves. That's basically the best way to play this card, is just play 4 -3 Arlen immediately. If Arlen dies, you're not unhappy with 4 mana for 2 2/2s, and if Arlen does not die, then you just go off. Now you're attacking with a 5/5 trample during the night. Otherwise, you're getting some additional +1/+1 counters on your creatures and potentially making more wolves. Arlen, an excellent planeswalker here. This will be the first time I've played with her, and I'm going to be very happy to do so. We also have Unnatural Growth in green, so we'd go for a heavy green deck if we have the support in our commons and uncommons. That would be the coolest way to play this sealed pool, so hopefully that happens. But potentially, in sealed, you can certainly do some splashing, do some 3-color stuff, and we've got some white cards as well. Kiltilda Dawnheart Prime, a 1/1 with protection from werewolves that gives all of your humans the ability to tap for a mana of their color, and for 6 mana you can tap it and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Definitely an excellent card for limited, especially in sealed where the games can go a little bit longer than normal. So that mana sink ability is great, and the ability to get extra mana in the early game also great. And we have Fateful Absence as well, a decent removal spell. I had this in our last white deck in sealed, and it was alright. It didn't play as good as it looked. It is really cheap to remove any creature of theirs, but the fact that they do draw a card to replace whatever it is a bit of a bummer. Sometimes they can just draw something almost as good as what they had, but you're replacing their threat on the board for a random card off the top of their library. That's still always going to be a good deal for only 2 mana. We also have Grafted Identity in blue, which is actually arguably the strongest rare here, probably the second strongest rare right behind Arlen, but this is a great card. 4 mana to gain control of any creature and give it +1/+1. You do have to sacrifice a creature to do it, but blue has tons of ways to make those little 2/2 zombie tokens that are very sacrificable. So Grafted Identity being both a removal spell and a bomb all in one, an excellent rare as well. So a really nice sealed pool here, and we'll have to see what colors have the best support. So in white, I'm not super looking towards white because we didn't have our main rares in white, but we could be splashing in some white for our green-white rare. So we'll take a look at it. We have like Gavany Trapper, a great tapper, Blessed Defiance, good in an aggressive deck. Don't love Homestead Courage. The Fateful Absence is okay. Exorcism is not. Unruly Mob is okay. Cathar's Call can be okay, but it's a big blowout if you cast this and your opponent just immediately removes whatever you put it on. So I generally still don't love it. Gavany Dawnguard can draw you quite a few cards, so this card's very nice. Our white looks like solid. Like, if I'm putting in just the cards I'm happy about playing in white, it would look something like this. Be pretty happy with this. And then next up would be Unruly Mob. And then these cards are the ones I'm not super happy about. But Sungold Barrage can be good against a lot of decks. It's just a big loss of value anytime you're playing against a deck that just doesn't have power or toughness for greater creatures. Like another aggressive, like green-white deck or something like that. So white looks pretty decent. Definitely happy with that. Let's just throw all the decent blue cards into a deck and see how that looks now. Gonna slap everything in, and then we'll take a better look at it. Ooh, Double Organ Hoarder is actually huge in blue. Ooh, okay. Our blue commons and uncommons are actually excellent. And we, of course, have that one blue rare, the Grafted Identity, that's great. So, blue is actually looking really good. Yeah, this just looks like a great pile. Mysterious Tome's been a bit too slow for me in general in like draft, but I feel like in sealed, with sealed being a slower format, since it's harder to get an aggressive deck, just a deck with a lot of good 1 and 2 mana creatures, because you're very much at the liberty of what you open. I feel like in sealed it'll probably shine, and the amount of value you get off of it will be plenty. So yeah, I think these are all the good blue cards, I would say. Or at least all the decent ones are better. And it looks pretty excellent if I'm being honest. So I am quite looking to potentially playing blue here if we can. So let's see what we have now in black. Oh wow, double Morbid Opportunist. This card is excellent. It's going to draw you a lot of cards throughout the game. We have Ghoulish Procession, which is very similar. It's going to make a lot of decayed zombies throughout the game. Double Hobbling Zombies, making sure that anything they attack with dies. So it's a good combo with Procession, a good combo with Opportunist. Our black looks pretty sick. We could just go like blue-black zombies. We have the Diregraph Horde as well. Just putting a lot of power onto the board for only 5 mana. Even if those zombies only get to attack the one time, it's still a huge, huge threat on turn 5. Of course, we have the Midnight Ambush, the Interloper to get in cheap damage. The Whisperers are fine, being a 4/2 and a 1/1 for only 4 mana. Behemoths are solid. The Heirloom Mirror is very similar to the Mysterious Tome, where it's been too slow for me in draft, but probably still playable in sealed. Probably still decent in sealed. You can spend that time setting up your Inherited Fiend and then just have a gigantic flyer out. So, loving the look of black as well. So, we could even just go blue-black zombies and say, you know what? Who needs rares? We'll just go with our one grafted identity for the rare. And not play any of the green-red werewolf stuff. And that's looking like a big possibility now that I'm looking at the red and the green. Particularly the green. Our green is very empty. This is not just the green cards. I mean, this is not just the good green cards right here. These are the only green cards. And I would argue most of them are not good. I don't like Bounding Wolf very much. Being only 2 toughness for the 3 mana. Sure, it's got Flash and Reach, which are some decent abilities, but just not impressive. Snarling Wolf is not very high impact, so in sealed, I'm very much not looking to play cards like this. In draft, you can draft a really aggressive curve and maybe use these cards well, but in sealed 1 mana creatures, I'm not a huge fan of. The Howl the Hunt is not the greatest combat trick ever, but it's playable. But yeah, this is such a low creature count here, such a low green count in general. It would be really hard to play on Natural Growth because this card really incentivizes you to have green as your main color. Have a ton of green sources to actually cast it. So green looks very, very flimsy. However, we have the green rares. We have Arlen. And then if we go green, red, white, we would have Sacred Fire and Catilda. But that being said, I don't really like our red either. We have Immolation. Nice cheap removal spell. A little aggressive Stinger if we want. Some very aggressive cards that, again, I don't love playing in sealed, like Raise the Effigy, Stinger, Abandon the Post, all of those just for aggressive decks. Perforator's also quite aggressive, so probably not what I'm looking to do. Flame Channeler, though, seems nice. Harrier's nice. Astronomer. Festival Crasher. We could go the Festival Crasher triple combat trick deck with triple Stolen Vitality, I guess. If we have enough Vampires, Ambusher could be good. But yeah, we don't have great removal in red. We don't have werewolves to go with our green cards, like our Howl of the Hunt. That's a little bit better with werewolves. Arlen, of course, a little bit better with werewolves. Unnatural Moonrise is completely unplayable without werewolves, I would say. Just 2 mana sorcery speed to maybe draw a card is not really worth it. You want to get that extra value off of turning it to nighttime. So I don't really like Unnatural Moonrise without werewolves. Yeah, again, I'm thinking that our red and green just look kind of awkward to me. Whereas our blue and black just look straight gas in terms of our commons and uncommons for just the blue-black zombie deck, which is one of the best archetypes in the format as well. So we get to cut 10 cards, 10 of our blue or black cards here. 21 creatures right now. So let's see what we want to do here. Just cut our weakest cards. I don't like Component Collector very much. It's pretty unexciting, kind of a boring blocker there. Unblinking Observer, also pretty unexciting, only the 1 toughness for 2 mana, so it trades down into 1/1s and doesn't attack into 1/3s, all that kind of stuff. Not a huge fan of that card either. Interloper might not really be the card for this deck. This is great in aggressive strategies, just constantly chipping in for that 2 damage. But the fact that it can't block can sometimes be a downside for sure, for maybe a slower strategy like we could be going for here. That being said, we do have a lot of creatures here, so we could be going for something aggressive in general. Do I like Gale Drifter or Bat Whisperer better for this deck? I think they're both somewhat comparable in power level. Like, I'm not massively excited to play either of them, but they can both do some great work in the right position. If you're curving out aggressively, Bat Whisperer on turn 4 can be great, adding 4 more power to the board off of just the 4/2 body and getting another flyer on the board. Of course, in the wrong situation, it's really bad. If you're on the defensive and you can't really attack in, you play a 4 mana 4/2 and all of a sudden that just trades down into a 2/2 if they're attacking you with a bunch of stuff. Whereas Gale Drifter can be really slow. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer is an okay deal. So you want the secondary ability to be really good to make up for that, and it's only okay. 5 mana to bring back as a 2/2 flyer. I think I like Gale Drifter better than Bat Whisperer, especially with double Organ Hoarder, because these will look at the top 3 cards of our library. They'll put a couple cards in our graveyard, so we could potentially be milling a Gale Drifter for a disturb cost. We could draw it and then discard it to an Archivist or a Shipwreck Sifters. We just have better ways to use disturb than ways to deal damage to our opponents, I think. So I think we get rid of the Bat Whisperers, and then potentially get rid of Vampire Interloper, but we are at 17 creatures here, which is about the standard, so we'll start looking at what our weakest instants and sorceries are. I don't love Secrets of the Key. Definitely do like Crawl from the Cellar, especially with good creatures to bring back. Always an excellent deal to bring back an Organ Hoarder or Morcrut Behemoth or Diregraph Horde, one of our big 4 or 5 mana cards, and we can do that twice because of the flashback. We have enough zombies in this deck that we will be getting some value out of the +1/+1 counters. Even if we're not putting it on a real zombie, we get a tiny amount of value putting it on a zombie token, but we have 8 actual zombie creatures in this deck, so we have 8 creatures that will permanently get that +1/+1 instead of just getting that +1/+1 to hit our opponent once with a decayed zombie. So Crawl from the Cellar actually seems pretty sweet in here. Locked into the Cemetery is one of the more unexciting cards here. Consider, not super exciting. Fading Hope, not super exciting, but these are all decent pieces of interaction. They're not the worst ever. I think we have stuff that's just a better deal in general. Yeah, just cut all 3 of these and then cut 2 more creatures, I guess. Go a little bit low on the creature count so we can play all our fun non-creature cards. I guess we could cut Heirloom Mirror. I feel like this is probably the slowest card in the whole deck, probably even worse than the Mysterious Tome in terms of speed. We could cut the Mirror and the Tome, I guess, if we really want to, because our deck actually does look kind of aggressive. We have a lot of 3 mana creatures and a lot of creatures in general, and we have a lot of decayed zombies coming out. Those zombies can chip in for that extra 2 damage, even if they only hit your opponent 1 time. You get them so cheaply at just such a good rate that you're doing a lot of damage. Like Diregraph Horde turn 5 mana for a 3/4, and then 2 2/2s to make your board really wide and get a good Alpha Strike attack in the next turn and attack with all of your creatures is often just doing a ton of damage. Stuff like that. Of course, Startle getting that extra damage in. I feel like even with this more aggressive strategy, I kind of like the Tome, but we have double Opportunist drawing us cards as well. So we probably have enough card draw without it. We have two Morbid Opportunists and 2 Organ Harvesters, or Organ Hoarders. Yeah, we have excellent card draw even without the Tome, so yeah, we'll get rid of the Tome here, and then this would be the 40 card deck. This seems like a pretty excellent blue-black zombies deck. And I think we're gonna roll with it with the deck to beat. The deck of the format. Strongest archetype in the format here. Gotta love that deck box artwork of Sun Gold Barrage for some reason. It happens, you know, Arena has its fun. Plays its little jokes there. But here we are with a blue-black zombies deck. Strongest archetype of the format with a lot of the best commons and uncommons for the color pair. Pretty excellent sealed pool, but a surprising way that we ended up having to build this. Just did not have a lot of support in green, even if we did. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, even if we had decent green cards and red cards, to where we can play a deck with a couple big bomb like Arlen and Unnatural Growth cards, the fact that we still have one big bomb here, the Grafted Identity, with a ton of excellent common and uncommon support in blue-black, makes me think that it would have taken some really good green-red stuff to get me to not build the blue-black version of this deck. We just have so much great stuff going for us here in this color pair. So here we are on the play with our blue-black deck. We get to get out aggressively too. We play a creature turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4. If we don't want to just slam down Ghoulish Procession turn 2. There's an argument for doing that, but I don't think it's a great argument. The reason would be no matter what happens, even if they just go swamp Olivia's Midnight Ambush here to kill Angler, we'll be getting max value out of the Procession, but I really don't think that they're going to want to trade their creatures off this early, so I don't think anything's going to die for Ghoulish Procession to trigger for quite a while, because we are just going to keep playing pretty expendable creatures that we're happy to trade off, and they're not going to be happy to trade off with these kind of cards. Because either of these creatures can come back from our grave. Our Archivist can come back as the Archive Haunt, and our Bait Hook Angler can come back as the Hook Haunt Drifter. So turn 3 from our opponent, we see a Bird Admirer, a 1/4 with Reach that blocks pretty well, and when it's the night time, so if somebody does not cast spells during their own turn, it will flip into a 3/5 Reach, so that can be pretty big. The Harvesttide Sentry first card they played is a 3/1. It's not blockable by creatures with power 2 or less if they trigger Coven when they attack, so it doesn't really matter right now. I think I'm just going to cast an Organ Hoarder here, and then next turn we'll have enough mana to play Hobbling Zombie and Ghoulish Procession. Well, that was a pretty easy pick off the Organ Hoarder. Some excellent work from the Organ Hoarder. Just sifts us through those lands, gets those out of the way so we can make it to our big scary cards that could matter right now instead of just more lands. Brood Weaver from our opponent. That is a 2/4 Reach, and when it dies it replaces itself with a 1/2 Reach. So even just in the green deck here, they've got plenty of ways to block our flyers, which is a bummer for sure, because we've got some good flyers potentially coming up with Gale Drifter as the draw this turn. But that being said, it's not going to be big enough to take care of their Brood Weaver, so I think we just go Hobbling Zombie. We get this Ghoulish Procession on the board, so now when cards start trading off, we're pretty happy with it overall. We're getting a good deal out of it, getting some zombies in the process. Oh no, are we about to lose to Wrenn and 7? Probably. I have never played against this before, but I know that it's an incredibly powerful card for Standard. Create a Tree Folk with power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. So it can do that, and it can do it twice pretty easily. They're already at 6 loyalty. Yeah, that's the biggest deal, the fact that it can make those Tree Folks. But other than that, just draw a bunch of lands, that's fine. Mill themselves. Alright, well, it's going to be an uphill battle here for sure. I think we just start attacking with Hobbling Zombie, because anything it trades with, well, anything they block with, it trades with, so we can start clearing their board a little bit. And we have another Hobbling Zombie. I guess we hit Wrenn and 7 to make it less likely that they can get multiple Tree Folk out of it. So we're going to trade with the Brood Weaver, so they get the 1/2 Spider now. But we get 2 Decayed Zombies and cast another Hobbling Zombie. And I guess I could also cast Crawl from the Cellar here. make our Hobbling Zombie a 3/3, but it already trades with everything, so I don't see a reason to make it a 3/3. The biggest reason to pick up a Hobbling Zombie would just be to cast it, and if we want to do that, we can just do it next turn anyway. Just crawl from the cellar and cast Zombie in the same turn. I think we passed there. So what kind of ways do we have to clear out Ren and 7? We can mainly just try to make our board wide enough that we can Alpha Strike, attack with everything, and get around all their blockers to kill Ren and 7. But they have a lot of blockers, and they're pretty big, so attacking with everything, we're going to lose a lot of creatures to do that, but I feel like Ren and 7 is by far the biggest threat on their board. They do have the Tree Folk now, the 6/6 Tree Folk. That's a pretty huge deal as well. But yeah, Ren and 7 has really put us on the back foot here. We have 6 attackers, they have 5 blockers. This is not the turn we can Alpha Strike. We can hit Ren and 7 for 2 damage, but then we lose a lot of creatures and bad trades. So certainly not worth it. Definitely worth it to attack with the Hobbling Zombie, though. And, like, sure, we could be attacking with these, just chump attacking with these disturbed creatures to recast them from the grave, but casting them as flyers doesn't really help us because they have 3 big reach creatures out. So it's not like they'll attack in any better once they come back from the grave. Alright, so we're clearing out Gavany's Silversmith there, getting 2 more zombies. And I honestly think that we crawl from the cellar here over Gale Drifter, because again, with the massive reach creatures, like a 3/2 flyer just doesn't matter. But a 2/2 Death Toucher could. Excuse me. Because we'll just keep whittling down their board and getting 2 decayed zombies every time. So like now we definitely have enough creatures to attack Red and 7 with everybody.
Rich soil grows mighty forests.
If we just don't deal with this, it's going to give them way too much value. So we do absolutely everything in our power to kill Ren and 7, and then we focus on stabilizing after that because we'll have expended a lot of resources to kill Ren and 7. Borrowed time, exile the Death Toucher, I guess. Exile Organ Hoarder. Alright, I'm fine with that. They do have Coven now, so they can consider starting to attack, but we have a Death Touch blocker. So we kill the best creature they attack with. Or they attack with Harvesttide Sentry. Alright, we trade with Archivist there, get another Decayed Zombie, so we still have just as many attackers, and clear out their dangerous semi-unblockable creature there. And of course, the Archivist we can recast from the grave, which is excellent. Midnight Ambush is great here. -2/-2 combat trick out of nowhere. We have 7 attackers. They have 4 blockers. If we attack with 6 creatures, we can kill Ren and 7. They have 2 mana up and 1 card in hand. I think we attack with 6 creatures here to kill Ren and 7. And then just hold up the Death Touch blocker of Hobbling Zombie. Yeah, 2 of them get through. Alright. Time to use these Decayed Zombies we've got out of Ghoulish Procession to get rid of a mythic Ren and 7. Our uncommon trading up pretty well here. Thank you, Ghoulish Procession, for all of the hard work. Yep. I believe this works. Unless they have a instant speed removal spell. Alright, no blocks from our opponent. So we will just get rid of Red and 7 there. Get that out of here. So we don't have enough mana to cast Crawl from the Cellar to bring back our Hobbling Zombie and recast our Hobbling Zombie. So we can't play another Death Touch blocker here. We could cast Gale Drifter and hold up Midnight Ambush. I kind of like that a little better. Because I don't like Crawl from the Cellar and just not getting another blocker on this board. Sure, we're at 20, but like we're getting hit pretty hard, and a 3-power blocker is big enough to deal with a lot of stuff. It can block the 3/3, it can block the 2/3, just can't block the 2/5 or the 7/7 well. Yeah, I like Gale Drifter here. And then pass turn, holding up our Midnight Ambush. Alright, they're going to flip it to nighttime. Gain a life, draw a card, and discard a card off the Celestus. That makes the Wing Shredder a big deal here too. But now that it's nighttime, our Olivia's Midnight Ambush is active. It can give -13, so we can clear their two biggest creatures out. One with our Death Toucher and the other with our Midnight Ambush. And we are going to be very happy with how this combat goes, because we're going to kill their biggest creatures, all three of their biggest creatures here. And they will be down to a single 2/3 reach. And we will, of course, get our 1 Decayed Zombie for the turn, and our 1 Decayed Zombie from Hobbling Zombie. And if they don't exile any cards from our graveyard, just the recurrent value of being able to cast stuff from the grave here is going to start getting us back into this game here, which I'm certainly happy about. 2/3 reach, play a 3/2. Oh, it's going to be a 2/2 flyer. 2/2 or 2/1 flyer can't block it well. Do we just crawl from the cellar and pick up our Death Toucher? We could double block it. We're at 17 life also. We don't need to worry about blocking anymore. 7 mana, we can only cast 1 spell either way. Unless I crawl from the cellar, I could pick up a 3 mana creature and cast it. Doesn't seem like a huge reason to do that. I think I like getting this because it has a good attack ability. But if we hit a land next turn, we could play this and this. Yeah, let's just get Gale Drifter. And we don't have to worry about blocking anymore, because the board state's actually in our favor a little bit. If they start attacking with this 2/3, they don't have blockers anymore, and we hit for 4 a turn, they hit for 2 a turn. The Celestus is going to go off here. It's a great mana sink at this point in the game. 3 mana to flip between night and day over and over. Every time they do so, they gain a life, draw a card, discard a card. So our opponent's definitely not out of it. We still need to put in some work to close out this game, but I think we definitely flipped things. We're no longer way on the back foot facing this red and 7. Now that that's gone, we've got a pretty good setup here. So now we can cast a 4 mana card and hold up a Nebelgast Intruder, which is great. They did hold back their reach blocker, so we have no good way to attack in here. So I am worried about Dawnheart Mentor's ability to give things +3/+3 trample. So do we just play our Death Toucher this turn, so we can Death Touch block whatever? Yeah, 6 mana for +3/+3 trample, that's a big deal. They want to kill the Mentor somehow, but we don't have any like creatures that can kill it. We can get a Death Toucher, but they'll just never attack with the Mentor, so it's not like the Death Toucher's going to clear it out. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to play the Archivist so we can start potentially drawing and discarding cards here. And we hold back because we don't have good attacks against the 2/3. Hopefully they just don't get too aggressive with Dawnheart Mentor. We might have to 2-for-1 ourselves if they do. If they attack in with this 1/1, if we double block the 1/1 and kill it, they don't have Coven anymore. So we can shut off the +3/+3 ability. So they can only activate this ability if they control 3 or more creatures with different powers, but once it's on the stack, I can't counter it. So I can't just like block with a 2/2 here and then respond to them giving it +3/+3 by making it a 0 power creature or whatever. So do I just do it right now? Yeah, I'm just gonna Nebelgast right now. Because like it's gonna resolve either way. And yeah, that way they have to do it pre-combat. Unless -1 power counts as a different power for Coven. I guess it probably does, doesn't it? It's a little weird. We actually get to take a 1-for-1 trade here, so that's good. Yeah, they can only... if I block with a 2/2, they can only kill 1. Yeah, I mean, they definitely kill the 2/2 here, but they only kill 1 card. And we kill one of their cards, which shuts off their Coven. They only have 3 mana up after this. They can't do Celestius. Oh, they just have Howl of the Night as well. Or Howl of the Hunt as well. Well, it's not the worst in the world. I would not classify that as brutal, but I would classify that as bad. So now they have a 0 power, 3 power, and a 2 power, so they still have Covens. They still get in with that trample. Alright, now I guess we just get the Death Toucher and then block whatever they attack with, and hopefully that shuts off Coven. Yeah. I don't like that we're not putting our +1/+1 counter somewhere good, but I think we need the Death Toucher here. The combat trick from our opponent was a bad time for us there. It's got Vigilance now too, permanently. Alright, trade. They don't have Coven anymore, but they could have easily drawn a creature by now, and if they haven't, they can use the Celestis to dig for one. So the Celestis is flipping things tonight, drawing a card and discarding a card. And there's the creature. However, it's a 3-power creature, so they don't have Coven anymore. And get rid of our 1/2 flyer with the Soulguide Gryph, so pretty good. We can cast our Sifters now. If we draw something better than flip the switch, we'll discard the switch. If we don't, we'll keep it. With 9 mana up from our opponent, I think I'd rather have Startle than flip the switch. Yeah, I just don't even know if flip the switch is actually going to counter anything at this point. All right. Well, we certainly can't attack in. They've got a 3/4 blocker over there, but at least they don't have Coven anymore, so they can't really attack in either. Oh yeah, they have Homestead Courage. They can re-trigger Coven here. Alright. Totally forgot about the flashback card because it was just sitting in the grave so long. So Coven is right back in action. They're just going to main phase, slap on +3/+3, make that 7 power. We only have 5 toughness. We certainly can't kill that. So they have 3 blockers. They block 1, 2, 3, take 8, 9. We can't kill them on the crackback. Let's just startle to draw a card here, see if we can get any answers. Morcrit Behemoth is not an answer. It is a 7/6 though, so trade a 7/6 into a 7/7. It is going to block while we have a Gale Drifter here as well, but we can only cast one of these cards here, so we may as well cast the Behemoth. We could spend the full mana on the Behemoth, or we could sacrifice a Decayed Zombie and get a new Decayed Zombie back. Actually, no, we can't. This only works when non-tokens die. So yeah, we spend the additional 2 mana here, I think. Dawnheart Mentor is putting in some work today. The Celestius really as well, keeping our opponent fueled. Has been quite a nice deck from our opponent here. Alright, well, we can't block that well at all. So we are going to dead in 1 turn, basically. Shadow Beast Sighting as well. Ooh, Grafted Identity. We can take the Dawnheart Mentor, or we could take the Soulguide Gryph and take their 1 flyer. We don't have enough mana to do this and play another blocker, so we need to worry about dying because we're at 5 life. Oh my god, yeah, being at 5 life here is brutal. Because they can give whatever ends up not being blocked +3/+3. They can use the ability to instant speed. So we need 3 blockers. If we block with a 1/2, they turn into a 7/7 and we take 5. So we need a ton of blockers. I think we have to Grafted Identity Dawnheart Mentor just to kill it. I don't think we can afford to steal the Soul Guide Gryph. So we need to kill our opponent. We need to start putting pressure on. If I attack with the 7/6, that opens up the field for them to start attacking with the ground creatures. If I attack with either flying creature, that opens up the field for them to start attacking with the Soul Guide Gryph. Like, I need to damage our opponent, but I don't think I can. I could just sack a bunch of Decayed Zombies. But I feel like I'm still just waiting here. And playing the waiting game again is not great against a mana sink like the Celestius. Plus our opponent has the Shadow Beast sighting. They can flash back, get another creature out here. So what are our best draws here? We have another Organ Hoarder, Diregraph Horde, more Crypt Behemoth, probably our best draws. Can definitely play this Gale Drifter. It helps things by getting another blocker out, if nothing else. Now we have a card to discard to the Archive Haunt, but if we attack with it, we're sacrificing it here. Our opponent's down to 6 cards in their library. They have to find a way to break through here. They need like another combat trick. Maybe they just mill out. Maybe we just play enough blockers, they just mill out. Alright, they're still going for it. Down to 3 cards in their library. Silver Bolt is huge. Actually, no, it's not as huge as I thought it was. I was still in the impression I only had 2 flying blockers, but being able to kill one of our blockers is still pretty big here. So it's a little too late for it now. It's a little too late for it now, but Morbid Opportunist is another card. We've got 2 copies of that. That'd be a sweet draw with all these Decayed Zombies. Doesn't really matter anymore. They're down to 1 card in library, so we're not going to have time to like sacrifice 1 Decayed Zombie every turn. But just thinking about other potential outs here. This is going to be a really close one. They have 1 card in their library. If I could cast 2 spells here, I might convince them to flip it back to today. And, well, it will flip back today, but they can choose not to draw the card. So, even if I could cast 2 spells there, it's not like it's an out. So, they have 1 turn to kill us here, but they might be able to do it. They actually probably can. We have 6 blockers, and they can kill... They can tap down 3 of our blockers, so we can only block 2 of their creatures. Or we can only block 3 of their creatures. We actually, yeah, we don't have enough blockers. Because the Interloper can't block. This would be a huge bummer if our opponent plays out of this one. So I feel like we fought really hard. Fought through a Ren in 7. All for it to just end here on the last turn with no cards in library from our opponent. Oh my god, and their last card kills our Grafted Identity too? Well, that's definitely lethal. Good lord. They have the Trapper too, and we have 2 blockers against this. Ah, what a... Oh. Try not to let it get to me, but that is such a blowout ending to this game. That's one of those games that makes you want to just log off for the day. I'll finish this video tomorrow. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was disgusting. Alright. Well, not too unhappy with how we played in that game. Might have been a line or two we could have done differently, but nothing comes to mind as just a huge misplay at any point there. I think we just played against a very good deck from a very good opponent. Had to fight through a Wrenn and 7. The Celestius kept our opponent drawing tons and tons of cards throughout that game, so we had to fight incredibly hard just to stay in it, and just one turn away from having our opponent mill out in the end of things. Certainly happens. So let's head into round 2 here. I feel really good about this deck. So I think on average we should do pretty well. But we can always play against some really good stuff from our opponents as we did last round. So not a guarantee we're going to do well here. But if we 0-3 this one, then that would be the first sealed that I've 0-3'd. So that would that'd make up for all the wins early on. Yeah, I think I'm getting ready to flip the switch here. That would average out the sealed win rate here. Playing against green, white, black from our opponent. Gavany Trapper and Deathbonnet Sprout on the board. Let's just play a Morbid Opportunist before anything else. Well, could play Falcon Abomination and then Morbid Opportunist the next turn, draw a card when we attack with the Decayed Zombie. We can also Falcon Abomination to Organ Hoarder. Yeah, nothing's really going to die. If I just cast Morbid Opportunist here, it's not like anything's going to die the turn after. So the Deathbonnet Sprout mills them every turn. They have milled a Borrowed Time, Lord of the Forsaken, and Loyal Griff, so they're 1 creature away from flipping the Deathbonnet Sprout into a 3/3 that gets a +1/+1 counter every time it exiles a creature from a grave. So we can Organ Hoarder here to curve out well and draw a good card, or we can Morbid Opportunist. That way next turn when we play our Moorcrypt Behemoth and sack our zombie, we draw a card off of it. I'd rather play Organ Hoarder here. Grab a Gale Drifter. We can cast Opportunist plus Bait Hook Angler next turn. I don't love this 4/4 from our opponent. Do I want to double block into it? Probably not. Let's just get that damage in here. Just block the Deathbonnet Sprout. Alright, well, the Deathbonnet Sprout has turned into a Deathbonnet Hulk, but I will still block that with my 3/2 if it attacks in here. I guess they can Trapper to tap down our Organ Hoarder. That would not be great. Silver Bolts as well, so they've got the cheap removal to just kill the Organ Hoarder and just crack in for 7 here. Things are not looking great for us. We've got Opportunist and Startle here, and we can't really afford not to block anymore. So do I just play Moorcrypt Behemoth, sacrifice a 2/2? They're now forced to trap down the Behemoth. That doesn't really get us anywhere, because they can then Trapper down the Behemoth to tap it down, so I can only block with a 2/2, and they're attacking with 2 4/4s. So we take 8 damage, or we chump block 1. So that really doesn't accomplish anything. However, because of Gavany Trapper, nothing here really accomplishes anything. So I guess Angler, Opportunist, and then attack with a Decayed Zombie. That way my board is as wide as possible, so I can definitely get a chump block off. I draw a card here from sacrificing the Decayed Zombie, and then I'll also draw a card when I chump block next turn. And now I have a very expendable creature to chump block with. This is the only way we can try to dig to our removal here. But yeah, this is not going super well here. Just a good aggressive curve from our opponent on the play. Their 1-drop is a 4/4 now. Alright, well, we get to go for a double block here to actually try to kill that Death Bonnet Hulk. I'm assuming it's not going to pan out, but we have to take the risks that we can here. Because if we can't kill these in any way, then we definitely lose this game. So we'll take every chance that we possibly can to kill these. And it looks like we do get to kill one here with the double block, which is good. And then Rise of the Ants. Oh no. Oh dear. That's a couple 3/3s and they gain some life. The life gain not super relevant, but the 3/3s definitely here. Archivist plus 2 mana up. We can startle something. Again, doesn't really help with Gavany Tramper on their board. We need as many blockers as we can get, but we can only play one blocker this turn. I guess we could play Archivist and Angler. Archivist is 3 power to trade with an ant. If we hit a land with Archivist, then we get to play another good blocker. All right, we definitely don't want Interloper. We need things that can block, so that's an easy discard. Not discarding Gale Drifter, even though it can disturb, because a 3/2 is a lot more important than a 2/2, and it's also cheaper to cast from hand, because a 3/2 can actually trade into a 3/3. So that's why we're not discarding our card with disturb. So do we startle or do we angler? Which blocks more damage? A 1/2 on the board blocks 3. A startle blocks 2, but a startle draws a card and potentially hits another land. It's really close, but I think I'm going to go ahead and disturb the angler as the Hook Haunt Drifter. Yep, tap down the one creature that can actually trade. We're forced into terrible blocks here to not die. Pretty sure this one's just getting closed out here. We don't even get to draw the Opportunist card. I thought that if 2 creatures die at the same time, that this would still trigger. Like if this dies at the same time as the other one. I guess not, but doesn't really matter either way. We're pretty dead regardless. They can stop 1 blocker. We need 3 blockers to survive, so we need 4 blockers on our board. There's just no way to do that. I guess we can startle and intruder to stop 4 of their damage. That costs 5 mana to do, and we have 6. There's no possible way to get another blocker and do that. So we... Intruder comes in and blocks there. This shuts off that damage. This shuts off that damage. We survive with 1 life. Alright. That's our 1 play. They trap the Archivist. We then slam down an Intruder to block the 4/4 and turn a 3/3 into a 1/3, and then we startle to turn the other 3/3 into a 1/3. Oh, I immediately just... Oh my god. Well, it didn't really matter there. I instinctually slammed down the flash creature, and I'm like, I'm going to block that. So I just clicked there to block, but that was for the -2 ability we had to put on the 3/3. Really doesn't matter there. We were just way on the back foot from the start of that game. But that was a big one of those instinctual kind of misplays where it's like, all right, just going through the motions, slam in the flash creature, make the block. Luckily, it didn't happen at a time where it would have like really, really mattered. Because we know what's in our deck. There's no cards in our deck that are saving us from that position. But it is still certainly embarrassing. So let's head into round 3 here. Before we get into this round, because it is possible we're going to 0-3 here, I will say I do genuinely think that this is a pretty good deck here. But you can't win them all, and sometimes things will just not go in your favor. Magic is a game of skill and also a game of luck. Sometimes you will play an incredibly good deck, but you'll just get paired up against better decks, or sometimes you'll just draw poorly. It certainly happens. I have a lot of videos that I'll end with like a 4-3 or a 3-3 deck or something like that. And then I'll be like, well, this deck was not that great, so I'm happy with a 3-3 or 4-3. This deck right here, I feel like if we 0-3 with this deck, I genuinely feel like that is just due to variance. That is certainly a part of Magic. It is a thing that happens. But that being said, we're not completely out of it yet. We can still go for a big comeback here, and being on the play this game is certainly helpful for that. For those who don't know, being on the play, just being able to curve out your cards better, does lead to significant increase in win rate for pretty much any limited deck. So it's always better to be on, well, generally better to be on the play than on the draw. It's got to be pretty happy whenever you are. Because as you can see here, it can just lead into these just good aggressive curves while your opponent's still setting things up, as our last opponent did to us here. And this is where our opponent is forced into the bad position with Bat Whisperer that I was talking about, where when you have to play the card on the defensive, it's a big bummer, because now it's just going to trade down into our 2-3 or get sacrificed to their Awakener. We're going to go ahead and cast our Morcrit Behemoth here, I think, sacrificing this zombie. Don't really need a 6th mana, so we'll discard the land there. But we could discard the counterspell, because we're not really holding up mana here. We're just going to keep curving out. That is an option as well. So there's the Morcrit Behemoth. Turn 5 from our opponent. Mounted Dread Knight. So definitely like black-red vampires over here. Bat Whisperer and Mounted Dread Knight. Some vampire cards from our opponent. They take 4 in the sky guaranteed. Morcrit Behemoth, they double block and they do kill it. But we clear their board, so I'll go for it regardless. And we might draw a Startle and really win that. We do not draw a Startle, so I'll discard the land. Alright. They're down to 6 life. We have 6 power on the board, and I'm holding up a counter spell. So we counter whatever they try to cast here, and then just get in for the kill. So this is kind of the reverse of the last game, where now we just get the early start with too much pressure for our opponent to come back from. Certainly a bummer for them here. Burn the Accursed, flip the switch, and that will be the game. So we have gotten a win for this blue-black seal deck. We are at least 1-2 here, but how long can we keep the win streak up? Can we rally it into a 7-2? Probably not, but it's always possible. I would be very happy to rally this into at least like a 3-2 or something so we can get a decent average record. But I'll take anything I can get here, even the 1 win after the multiple losses to start off will feel pretty good. So happy to get at least that 1 win in here. Waiting on our next opponent here. Gonna grab a drink between rounds as usual. Alright, and here we are. Heading into round 4. 1 win and 2 losses. Any loss will take us out of contention. Any wins will potentially rally us up to a pretty decent win rate run. This is an excellent hand. Well, not excellent, but this is a pretty great hand. Turn 3 Opportunist and turn 4 Organ Hoarder. Both of those are great cards. We could even just startle on turn 2 to get a Decayed Zombie to draw another card. And I think I should do that. There have been times where I haven't cast Startle as liberally as I should. And one of the biggest reasons to cast it liberally is Morbid Opportunist. We should startle on turn 2 here so that we can draw a card, get a Decayed Zombie, then turn 3 cast Morbid Opportunist, sacrifice the Decayed Zombie, and draw another card. So we're essentially spending 2 mana to draw 2 cards, gain 2 life, and deal 2 damage to our opponent. Like, it's an excellent deal here. Even if the zombie doesn't hit them, but I'm assuming on this board state the zombie's going to hit them here. So yeah, 2 mana instant speed, blue spell. Oh, it gives vigilance. I forgot that. Homestead Courage gives vigilance, so we won't hit them with the zombie, but 2 mana instant speed, gain 2 life, draw 2 cards is still good, even if our opponent doesn't take the damage here. We just could just play double Morbid Opportunist here, which is kind of insane. I probably am supposed to just keep this Morbid Opportunist as a backup for the first one, so I can still play our 4 mana card turn 4, get an Organ Hoarder on the board, which is going to be very good. That's probably what I'm supposed to do here. But double Morbid Opportunist is a hilarious option that we could do. We could also play a Hobbling Zombie now, so we can Death Touch block either of these, because these are going to be big attackers. Of course, the Awoken card could be a 6/6 when it's attacking if they sacrifice a creature to it, because it has 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So Death Toucher would be pretty big. Organ Hoarder would just be a good deal, but it's not going to block well. Yeah, the only creature we have that's going to block well is a Hobbling Zombie, so I kind of want to do that, because I don't really want to take 7, and I don't really want to chump block either. So we're going to play a Hobbling Zombie here. So our opponent has 3 cards in hand in their black-white deck. They go for an Olivia's Midnight Ambush to kill the Hobbling Zombie. We do draw a card off of that, but now we're taking 7, unless I chump block with Opportunist. We did draw into another Hobbling Zombie, which is good. However, I'll only have 5 mana next turn, so I can't really... Whoa. No attacks. I don't know if that was a misclick or intentional, but I am so tremendously happy with that, because I was actually considering, even with all these cards in hand, we'd be in a pretty bad position here if our opponent just stays aggressive, because we're taking 7 that turn. We're not going to lose the Opportunist, so we'd be at 7 life against these 2 cards, and it's going to be a while till we can play like multiple good blockers, so if they just have a single other removal spell, they could get us killed pretty quickly. So I really like them taking a turn off here. And I think I will just play another Hobbling Zombie. And we'll probably draw a card off this Decayed Zombie. I guess we have more than enough cards to play around with, but I am really looking for something like an Olivia's Midnight Ambush or something like that. To be safe. Nebelgast Intruder would be nice too. Grafted Identity would be exceptional. Still have some pretty big draws that we want to hit, so let's draw the card here from the Opportunist. Alright, they're going to Midnight Ambush again to kill the Hobbling Zombie. Alright, well, Interloper isn't nothing. It means we get to play another card here. So they had a Midnight Ambush in hand. I don't know why they didn't. They must have misclicked. Because we would be in a brutally bad position here if they had just attacked both. Because now we have no blockers. Yeah, we would actually just be dead right now because unless I chump blocked with Opportunist, I would just be dead right now. And I don't think that I would have chump blocked with Opportunist. Obviously, in hindsight, I should have if they did that, but I don't think that's a thing that I would have done. I think I would not have the willpower to do that. I'd be like, but I like Opportunist. Alright, well, things are still terrifying for us. Like, we're still down to 7 against some good attackers, and we don't have great blockers. So this is not the stabilization, even though they're out of cards in hand and they're just top decking. Any one of these cards could finish us off. They do flip to Knight here for the Baneclaw Marauder. Now we lose a life for every creature that we block it with. Oh, wait, no. Whenever a creature blocking it dies, we lose a life. Okay. So pretty big deal there. Definitely want to get more blockers out. We have 7 mana, so we can cast 2 blockers here. I just want to cast the best blockers. I don't really need to draw well now. So I'm not going to play Organ Hoarder. I'm just going to play the best creatures to block. Which is going to be Gale Drifter and Falcon Abomination. Just keep hitting with Vampire Interloper. We did cast 2 spells there, so we flipped that Baneblade Scoundrel right back. Gavany Silversmith, pretty great play here. Makes the Awakener a 4/4 and the Scoundrel a 5/4 now. So Baneblade Scoundrel makes each creature blocking it get -1/-1, not just target creature blocking it. So even if our board goes really wide, it's going to be difficult to block that one. 4, 5, 6, 7. We could have 8 mana if I play this land. Let's just Organ Hoarder first, I think. I don't super need a Morkurt Behemoth here. See if we can get more defensive cards. Diagraph Horde's alright. Crawl from the Cellar's good too. Crawl from the Cellar would pick us some Death Touch creatures up, but we have a million blockers. When I said defensive cards, I'm more looking for instant speed tricks like Startle now. That could help us live through tricks from our opponent. We have 3 blockers even if we attack with the Flyers, then we have a Flip the Switch to counter something. I think I want to attack with a 2/2, but not the Reanimator card, the Whale Drifter. Still want like 4 blockers here, I feel. I don't want them to double removal spell us at some point, but we have to Flip the Switch if they do that. You know, because we have Flip the Switch, this might be a bit bold, but I'm going to attack everybody because then they're dead in 2 turns to flying. Puts them on a 2-turn clock here, which is definitely faster. I guess they're dead in 2 turns either way because our board is so wide, so maybe safer to hold back one of the Flyers. I didn't consider that. With the Decayed Zombie getting in and everybody else. If we just attack with literally everyone next turn, we would do at least 9 damage. Oh, the Meat Hook Massacre. That would kill us on the spot, I think, because it would kill like all our creatures. I guess it wouldn't kill us on the spot. Everything would get -3/-3 until end of turn, so it would kill all our creatures, but they gain a life for each one of our creatures that dies. When their creatures die, we lose a life. So we lose 1 life from Silversmith, and then we'd take 1, 2, 3 more damage. So we wouldn't die on the spot, but we would definitely lose if that resolved. So super happy to have had the counter spell there. That was kind of a weird game. I think we probably should have lost that one if our opponent had just attacked that 1 turn, so that might have just been a misclick there. relatively likely, I would say. So, all things considered, this deck probably won 3'd here if everything had just played out regularly, which is pretty sad, but we got really lucky, and just due to, I think, probably a technical discrepancy or something, we managed to survive that round. So we are heading into round 5 now, 2 wins and 2 losses. Alright, Shipwreck Sifters here. That 2-3, and, well, if I already have 5 lands, I kind of want to just discard a land and cast both halves of the Angler. But getting an immediate 2-3 versus a 1-2 and a 2-3 is also good, and I'm probably playing my 3 mana card turn 3. Yeah, no, I'm still going to discard the Disturb card here. Festival Crasher, a 1-3 whenever they cast an instant or sorcery, gets +1/+0 until end of turn. We cannot kill that, but we can threaten to. Yeah, and they're scared, so they don't block. So we get that 2 damage in by threatening an Olivia's Midnight Ambush or some kind of trick like that. Three mana up from our opponent in their red-black deck. They're just going to pass the turn. Let's get our flyer out so we can keep hitting for 2. Ghoulish Procession. I like doing that before I do anything else here in case something dies. They might respond with an instant speed removal spell, but it looks like they do not. Attack both. They could use an instant or sorcery to try to get the Crasher to kill the Sifters here. Let's see. They might just bounce off each other, though. If they bounce off each other, I'll cast the Angler. If they try to kill it, I'll cast Startle and prevent that. Alright, well, we're going to lose our flyer, but at least we get a Decayed Zombie out of that. And with Startle, the Sifters will survive to live another day. Ardent Elementalist brings back Infernal Grasp. Well, I'm not going to cast a Morcrit Behemoth into an Infernal Grasp, so let's play Hobbling Zombie and Bait Hook Angler here. But we're not really attacking in anymore, because I'm not really going to... I'm not going to threaten the -2/-2 anymore at this point. They did not take the bait. They went for the block last turn, so they're probably just going to keep going for the block of their 1-3 onto the 2-3. That was basically the only reason I attacked with Sifters last turn, is because they had already chosen not to block the Sifters on a previous turn. So they took the bluff. They were like, well, he might have the card. And I don't want to block if you do. So they've got the Heirloom Mirror out here. It's one of the cards that we chose to cut, because it's a bit slow, but our opponent's not under a boatload of pressure here, so it's probably going to flip. So, well, I really don't like that they just have access to this Infernal Grasp all the time. We save the zombie for blocks. I guess we can attack in with it. It trades with Elementalist, and we get 2 Decayed Zombies, which can help try to go wide. Then if they Infernal Grasp, they do lose 2 more life, plus we get a Decayed Zombie. You know, I'm actually going to send that in here, because we're going to whittle down their board. They're losing life to the Heirloom Mirror. They're losing life to Infernal Grasp. Going wide with enough Decayed Zombies could close out this game, and they even just choose not to block. So they're at 12 life. Let's imagine a world where they Infernal Grasp our Behemoth. If that happens, they lose 2 more life. They're at 10. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power on the board still. We don't have immediate lethal the next turn, but we have so many zombies, it could be good. I feel like I'd even want to sacrifice Sifters just to turn into a zombie so I still keep the same amount of power on the board. Although, I could go a little less power and get rid of that zombie. If we get rid of the Hobbling Zombie though, ooh, that's interesting. If we get rid of Hobbling Zombie here, we get 2 Decayed Zombies off of doing that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. We have 7 attackers. They kill this one, it turns into another Decayed Zombie. So then we still have 7 attackers. One has 1 power, the rest have 2. They block 2 2-power creatures. That's 5 getting in for 10 damage. 1 in the sky getting in for 1. That's 11 damage, and they're going to be at 10 life because they'll have Infernal Grasped. I think we do that. Like, now they have to not only Infernal Grasp, they need to play another blocker to survive. Because we're going to have 7 attackers next turn, even if they kill more Crypt Behemoth. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, because they kill 1 and then Ghoulish Procession just replaces it. Yeah, replaces the 7/6 with a 2/2 Decayed Zombie. No, this is great. This is potentially just lethal. They have to Infernal Grasp and play another blocker. And if they use Heirloom Mirror, it's going to be even harder to survive because they'll lose 1 more life. So there's the Infernal Grasp. They lose 2, go down to 10. We replace that with a zombie. They have 2 blockers, so they block 2 zombies. Oh, if they attack with Elementalists, we just take it and then definitely crack back for lethal, I think. I guess we could also just block with a 2/3. So I wonder what that would mean if they attack with it. They're probably trying to get a life loss trigger if they do that. Anyways, they block 2 zombies and take... block 2 zombies, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess I miscounted slightly, but we put them to 1 life here, and then they can't use Heirloom Mirror, and then Hook Haunt Drifter kills them 1 turn later. If they kill any of our creatures, we get another Decayed Zombie to try to finish things off. We have a Flip the Switch to get another Decayed Zombie. Yeah, we just go for it here. Even if we lose this game, I like the lines that I've taken here, because it's the funnest way to play this game. Just the all-out zombie assault. Alright, so they are killing my Sifters, so that will get replaced by a Decayed Zombie. So they are at 1 life. With 1 blocker against 3 attackers, one of which is flying. And they can't use the Heirloom Mirror or they will die, because they will lose a life. I am going to play this land in case I hit a draw spell. So that I could play a draw spell and still play a land next turn. Doesn't mean our opponent's not going to like play around anything, but they can't afford to anyway. They have to just assemble a board state that can survive my onboard stuff. Very eloquent use of the English language there for me. That's what you're here for, if you're watching the Gauntlet X draft videos. I guess this is a sealed, not a draft. Okay. So 4 cards in hand. They can't use Heirloom Mirror. They need to get 2 more blockers or cast a removal spell into blocker. Alright. And there's the concession. Just going to go ahead and use the Heirloom Mirror. Great way to end that game. That is definitely what I would do in my opponent's position if I didn't have a way out of that. So 3-2, we made it to an average run. We started 0-2 and we got 3 wins in a row right back into it. At least a 50-50 with this deck, so I am happy. I did not throw this deck in the trash. I did not just 0-3 immediately with it. So super, super happy to at least get here to the 3-3. I think that this deck deserves at least that much. So yeah, I think this sealed pool was just pretty sweet. Would have been disappointed to see this deck go too much worse than this. Alright, so our opponent's on the play. We've got that Procession to play around with. We got Sifters. Probably just discarding a land with Sifters. Silverbolt from our opponent. One thing I will say, that Silverbolt's been working really well so far. One thing... Oh, no. Oh, no. Jadar is an oppressive, aggressive card. Comes out on turn 2, gives you a Decayed Zombie that constantly replaces itself. So every turn they're attacking me with a 2-2. It doesn't matter how many of the 2-2s I kill, they're just going to keep attacking me with more 2-2s. So Jadar is a terrifying start from our opponent, especially being on the play, but we do hit a Grafted Identity. That could really help us potentially get out of this, because now we could steal their Jadar and use it for our own purposes. Our opponent's on green, black, and white. Anyways, what I was going to say there about the Silverbolt is that card has been performing pretty well, so I probably at some point should have gone into our sealed pool, double-checked if we have a Silverbolt. I didn't really look at our colorless cards, but if we have a Silverbolt in our sealed pool, we should probably be playing it. It has been pretty impressive. I think we play Falcon Abomination here. That gives us an expendable creature to use Grafted Identity, giving us that Decayed Zombie. I'm going to go ahead and bolt the Falcon Abomination here. See what else they do here on turn 4. No blocks. Down to 16. Ecstatic Awakener, fantastic with Jadar. So I am happy to be able to steal Jadar here before they can get immense value off of it, but they're still getting good value. They still have the Decayed Zombie to sack to the Awakener. They just won't get another one afterwards. So let's go ahead and Grafted Identity here. Take Jadar, sacrificing our Decayed Zombie. Loyal Griff to return Jadar to hand. Pretty big blowout here. Get the 2-for-1. They get a 2-2 Flash Flyer on the board and counter our Grafted Identity. Because Jadar costs only 2 mana to put back on the board, that does not cost them that much in tempo at all, so we've basically got nothing out of Grafted Identity here. Loyal Griff, excellent response there from our opponent. If they hit another black source, they get to flip the Awakener and play Jadar. Alright, they just passed the turn, probably flipping Awakener in our end step here. So what are we doing now? We can play a Diregraph Horde to have a 3-4 blocker, so we can actually block 2/2s, but they have a Gavany Trapper to tap down our biggest blocker anyway, although that will soak up some of their mana. I feel like Diregraph Horde isn't great here, because they can flip Awakener, make it a 4-4, lose that Decayed Zombie, and then next turn they can just play Jadar plus tap the 3-4, because Trapper costs 2 mana to tap something down. So that just gives them a really easy line next turn that plays well. Jadar, Trapper, and then we take 6, because we take the Awakener damage and the Griff damage. I think I'd rather just Organ Hoarder here and try to draw a card that helps get us out of this, because a 3-4 blocker doesn't actually help that much against a Trapper from our opponent. These are all individually good cards, but none of them are great here. Like, none of them are like super good in this specific situation. Probably want to take Gale Drifter. The problem with that is it's going to keep getting tapped down by the Trapper so that the Griff can still get in. But I feel like Morbid Opportunist is too slow here, as good as it is. But we do have the Ghoulish Procession to work with it. I think we're too far on the back foot to take a 1-power creature here, I think. But that does open us up to being ready and willing to chump block a lot more often, like chump block with our 1-2, even if we're not attacking in. I don't know here. I feel like there are pros and cons to Gale Drifter and Opportunist, and neither are great for us. I'm gonna go Gale Drifter. Like, if we go Opportunist, we'll still have access to that flyer eventually to come out and trade with the Griff. But I really want to just get good blockers out immediately here. And we can curve out next turn. We could spend Gale Drifter for 4, Procession for 2. But I guess we could also just Opportunist for 3, Procession for 2. Getting beat up pretty hard here. I'll probably take the 2-for-1 trade while I can here, right? Sure, we're getting less value off of Procession, but kind of got to get that demon out of here. It's probably a combat trick, but it's not the worst 2-for-1 ever. They're killing 2 creatures that kind of already got value from their ETB effects. If they spend a removal spell to get the 2-for-1, I'm very happy with that. If they use like a Olivia's Midnight Ambush or something. Alright, Flare of Faith it is. Yeah, the alternative here is to just like be at 8 life and then get blown out by the combat trick later. So it's definitely a rock and a hard place position to be in there, where I don't feel like either works well. Now their board is just so wide that I think we just die. The Loyal Griff to return the Jadar really being the play of the game here. Jadar just being the kind of card we really, really needed to deal with, and without a way to do that, Jadar is just going to keep spitting out those tokens and getting more value. Value such as being able to flip the Awakener very easily and bash in for 4. I wonder why they're not attacking with everybody here. Scared of something. Maybe the Nebelgast. The 2/1 flash that gives a creature -2. Ambitious Farmhand. Grab planes from their deck and then they can flip this into a 3/3 lifelinker for 3 when they have Coven. Alright. We can play Horde and Procession, but we only have 2 blockers. They can tap one of them down, tap down 1 blocker. I have 1 blocker on the board. My 1 blocker blocks that, and I take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because they can flip the farmhand. So we are incredibly dead on board, but perhaps our opponent will not notice. It is possible, but it's looking like a 3/3 run for the blue-black Forsaken deck. Candle trap the Diregraph Hordes. They can kill that and tap the Gale Drifter. And 3 and 3 it is. So, again, not the greatest record here, but not the worst one either. Perfectly even 50-50, 3/3 run with the deck to beat. The blue-black zombie deck. Maybe the name that I gave it was a really bad omen, because it certainly was. The deck that got beaten in a lot of the games early on. Anyways, that is going to end today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have and you'd like to get these videos recommended to you, you can do so by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I've heard the YouTube algorithm loves all of those things. Otherwise, just stick around on the channel. Plenty more Magic Arena videos to come from now until the end of time. So as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon with some more Magic Arena.